Hello, Frugal fans. Once again, Captain Frugal reporting for duty, and today's flashback from the stash is going to be Captain America, issue 402. Alright, this issue was written by Mark Grunwald, and the penciler was Rick Levins. Now, I will say Rick Levins wasn't my favorite penciler, but I think his penciling was serviceable for the time, and Mark Grunwald has written some great issues of Captain America. This issue starts with a dark scene with a man huffing and puffing as he's running away in fear. And you hear in the background a large, loud wolf sound. And you could tell he's definitely getting scared. And just look at the colors. It gives that it's dark out. And you could tell by the sweat going off the guy's face that he has fear. And then he sees it in front of him and he says, "Oh, Lord, have mercy." We then switch to the next big splash page. The Prowling is the title of this issue, and you see it that the man-wolf captures and gets the man. We turn to the page and we see that man-wolf tears him apart, and all that's left is a bloody little bit of him. And then comes up, yes, and sniffs him is Wolverine, because during this time period, every comic book had to have Wolverine because he increased sales. After that little scene for a sales bump, we switch back into the Avengers headquarters in New York City, and we see Captain America lifting weights with D-Man. Now, this is just after a situation with D-Man I'm not going to get into, but he's mentally has some issues right now. He went through some traumatization, and so he's just not all there. And so even though Cap talks to him, he doesn't respond. So Cap says, "I'm going to go over there to the jungle gym and talk to the Black Widow," and we see, yes, Black Widow there training on the gymnastic bars. And look at all those bars. That was just amazing. And she asks Captain America to join him, and tells her that he really does need to talk to her. We turn the page after another advertisement, advertising the Captain Hook game, by the way. We get to this page here, and I always love pages like this, where they show a superhero in motion. They would show them by having them colored a lighter shade, and then dark where they're actually at. I always loved this with Spider-Man books, as well as Captain America books. So you could see his agility and his power on this. And so he's there talking to the Black Widow, mentioning, how D-Man has just not been there since. Anyway, after this little chat, Captain America mentions to Black Widow that he thinks it's time for him to take a leave for a little while. And so Black Widow's going to actually take over the leadership role for a while in the Avengers. Now, after skipping a baseball card advertisement, we turn the page and it says, "Soon in the Communications Center." "Hi, mademoiselle. Anything from Diamondback?" Because recently Diamondback became missing in action. It actually gets into that story after this part. This comic book has some about this story, and then the other part of the comic tells about what's going on with Diamondback. We're not going to get into that much in this video, but I just want to let you know it's two stories going on in one issue. And so anyway, no, there isn't anything about him. So nothing's checked on. He goes, "Well, how about from John?" Negative there too. But here's something you might want to look into. And they show it to the view screen. It says, discovery of a man's body off Highway 9 West, which appears to have been mauled to death by a wild animal, possibly a wolf. So here we go. We get into it. And Cap's like, according to this, John's run-in with Lanthropy was triggered by his possession of this gem when he brought it back from the moon. And there was a whole moonstone thing where J. Jonah Jameson's son, John, actually turned into the man-wolf. So he says, "I wonder if there's any relation to the moonstone used by the criminal of that name, or even the bloodstone." And by the way, there's an awesome storyline with Captain America with the bloodstone. Definitely worth checking out. Maybe one day I'll do it in the flashbacks from the stash. So anyway, he asks to access the moonstone file. And so they're going to look into that, and he goes, not a lot there, but it indicates that Dr. Kurt Connors of Empire State University was instrumental in removing the stone from John's body. So therefore, Captain America decides he needs to talk to Dr. Kurt Connors, which, if you should be familiar with your Spider-Man lore, he turns into the Lizard. Now, next, we're taken to Empire State University's science building, where you hear, "Thanks for greeting me on such short notice." And you notice he's not talking to Kurt Connors, he's talking to another doctor. And she goes, "Hey, to pass up a chance to speak with the living legend? No way." Because yes, back then, Captain America was respected in the comic books and looked at highly. So anyway, she tells him about about that. He says, no, he took Dr. Connors took a leave of absence. He goes, oh, so Dr. Connors is no longer at ESU? How did he ever tell you anything about the Moonstone? And then they give you some back history. Why, yes, it's that gem that he and Spider-Man removed from the Man-Wolf, and that was in Spectacular Spider-Man Annual number 3. Curt Connors had me critique the paper he wrote on this nature of the properties of the gem, and it crumbled into dust upon removal from its subject, whose identity the paper did not divulge, which we know that was John Jameson JJJ's son. So anyway, Captain says, any idea what happened to the gem's dust? And she goes, yes, Kurt swept it carefully and put it into a sealed container to examine. And then she goes to put it away. Now notice when she goes to put it away, look at the bag on top of the case there. None other than a McDonald's bag. It's a little product placement there. So Kurt was marvelously well organized. Here, I'll show you. It's gone. So you see the drawer is empty, and she says she remembers seeing it just a few weeks ago. So there we have it. It's a missing bag of powder from the Bloodstone. We cut to the next action-packed page elsewhere, where it shows, smack, come on, little doggies, pay attention. You're never gonna be let onto the polite society unless you learn some manners. If there's anybody who can teach you, it's me. And you're wondering, who is this guy? Well, then you hear it from above, Moon Hunter, because if somebody didn't yell that person's name, you wouldn't know who this guy was. We need to speak with you. Hold your water, Dreadmond. I'll be with you as soon as... And he gets attacked by one of the Man-Wolves. Right as he's getting told there's an intruder. Because we have to show that this book is going to show this character's tough. They can't just show just beating on the wolves. They have to show that he actually has some skill and toughness in him. Next you hear, roar! You fuzzy, you'll be needing dentures long before you bite through my silver-plated underoos. Showing that he's got a tough armor-type plated suit that's going to protect him. So he kicks those wolves off. So they're showing this guy can hold his own. This isn't some wimp. And he tells him he's going to be back, and he'll really give him something to howl about. He says, now, be good, little doggies, and stop fighting what you've become, telling us that these weren't originally this. They've been transformed into this. Now, remember, we have missing heroes, right? Missing JJJ, or J. Jonah Jameson's son, I'm sorry. And so this makes you think, maybe he's one of those. So anyway, he takes off, and then we go back to Manhattan, where it says, to what do I owe you this dubious pleasure of this visit, Captain? Now, this page is very important, and I strongly recommend paying attention to it when you read this book. All right, we have Captain America speaking with J. Jonah Jameson. And you know how J. Jonah Jameson feels about superheroes. So this is an interesting thing, and it tells a lot more depth into J. Jonah Jameson and his son's relationship. As they talk, J. Jonah says, well, he knew he had some kind of government job where he wasn't keeping in touch much. And so it's been going on 2 years since he's talked to his son. And Cap says, well, apparently John didn't feel at liberty to tell you, but his government job was working for the Avengers as my pilot. And he's what? Because, he's surprised of that. He goes, your son's a good man, sir, and a great pilot. And J. Jonah Jameson says, he probably didn't tell me because he knows I don't approve of your kind, Captain. Not you necessarily, but some of the less reputable masked vigilantes you frequently let join your ranks. You think something's happened to him? He goes, well, he's gone AWOL, which is definitely not like him. And so you can see concern now with J. Jonah Jameson. Now, I think this next panel on the bottom right corner is very important. After he says, Captain, please find my boy. And look, he pulls out a picture, and notice how it's dark. It's showing, you could just tell by the expression, the way his head is down and the color is dark. It gives a tone that, there's a sadness, a deep sadness for that bad disconnect in the relationship. And now just think about that. You haven't talked to your son in nearly 2 years, and he may be dead. You may never see him again. How would that make you feel? That panel was loaded with power. Next, we see Captain America says, hello, Peggy. Any luck raising Doctor Strange for me? Because he's looking for Doctor Strange because of the situation here. Afraid not. His servant told me he would be unavailable for the indefinite future. And just anybody paying attention, please make sure you put in the comments a little fun question. Who is Doctor Strange's servant? Any Doctor Strange fans should know that. Let me know that in the comments. I want to see who knows it. He goes, anyway, okay, thanks, Peg. I'll try something else. Cap out. So anyway, he's going to go now to the second best person with the occult that he can think of. And so he arrives in Boston 2 hours later. He says, I believe that this is his townhouse below. The moment of truth. Is he home or not? If he's not, I'll just proceed to the site of the so-called werewolf murder upstate. So he notices, whoa, the door all of a sudden flung open on its own accord, and he hears, I am upstairs. And then, so we discover, when you can't find the number one, the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, you go to the second one at this time when this guy was alive, and that would be Dr. Druid. Captain America, there's an unexpected surprise. I'll be with you in a moment. Have a seat. And you see he's practicing there. He's honing his skills. He goes, is that really you? You seem younger? Yes, Captain, I recently got a new lease on life and a manner of speaking. And if you want to know more about that, check out Avengers Spotlight number 37. Each one of the Avengers Spotlight issues, they spotlighted different Avengers, gave them like their own solo thing. Because a lot of the Avengers, if you notice, weren't mainstream big characters. They were like second and third tier characters, so they didn't carry their own book. So this was a great way to give those characters spotlight. Next, he says, I'll just put everything back where I found them, showing you that he has this psychokinesis. And he was telling me he was just, doing his exercise. Now then, Captain, since my occult talents do not include clairvoyance, pray tell me what brings you to this Avenger's abode. And he goes, I need help finding a person. My pilot, now this is key, pay attention to this. My pilot, I fear the supernatural may be involved. Do you have a picture of this person? He says right here. And then for any of you that are familiar with Johnny Carson, this next panel ought to be for you. As you know, like Johnny Carson always had a little bit where he would say what something was, and then he'd open up the card and be a little humorful. So anyway, here, Dr. Drew goes, I'm not getting a very strong impression. Would you happen to have something that he's worn or handled? And Captain America says, I'm afraid not. Now, hopefully all of you are paying attention because this next panel is interesting. Dr. Druid says, what makes you think Mr. Jameson's disappearance may be supernatural? And notice in Cap's thought bubble says, wait a minute, I didn't tell him John's name. Several years back, a stone found on the surface of the moon transformed him into a wolfman. And then Dr. Druid says, wait, the alleged werewolf killings north of here. I've been planning to investigate. And Cap says, exactly. I was hoping you would. And so Dr. Druid's going to take off with Captain America. But it's interesting. So automatically Cap notices, hey, wait a minute. Why is he not telling me? There's something there that he's not telling him. Dr. Druid's had a history of not always being 100% honest with the Avengers. So that's definitely something to look at if you're reading that time period of Avengers. Look into that. It's really good. So anyway, they hop on the Sky Cycle and they take off. And you hear, I must confess, I've been hoping to patch up relations with the organization, Captain. Captain America says, and us with you, Doctor, maybe. See, so he's not 100% sure he trusts Dr. Druid here. And for good reason. He says, hold it, take us down there. So they land, and we see that. What is this? The site of the killing is nearby, and something more. He kept thinking, boy, I hope this lead does not check out. Because, he doesn't wish any bad things. And if this was a death site, that means John would be dead. The occult stuff makes me uneasy. Then Dr. Druid says, here, this is where a man was murdered by a beast. See? The dried blood. Wait, I sense a presence. No, I want you to notice the darkness of this page, too, how it gives that night. Even though they don't have super fancy paper, they're not using that super high-quality paper, but yet it still does an excellent job with art. You can see the pictures, the coloring is still nice. You can show night and day well. So that's one way they could probably reduce comic book prices today, is go back to that cheaper paper. Well, anyway, so also I want to point out, too, notice that Captain America is looked at differently in this book than he is today in today's age. Back at this time, Captain America was respected. People looked up to him. Think about this. When's the last time you've read a Captain America issue where Steve Rogers' Captain America was looked at and respected? Truly think about that. He was held in a very high regard back then. That's something that really diminished in the 2000s era of Captain America. So anyway, getting back to the story, we hear roar, and we see another man-wolf, and it happens to be jumping at Dr. Druid. Now, Dr. Druid knows, he should have noticed this. He's a hero. He's not a novice, but he gets jumped on and gets the surprise. He says, going for my throat, unless I can memorize it. And then I love this next scene. You hear, whang! John, is that you? Because Captain America just bashes that thing with his shield. Now that is awesome. I mean, you just boom. Now, granted, as I said, this isn't the most powerful looking hit. A better artist probably could have done a better job, made it look really powerful. But nonetheless, it was a cool scene. Now, I did find it funny. Cap asks, "Is that you, John?" And clearly, this is a female werewolf. But then again, I have to remind myself it's dark, and they clarify that next page. So we turn to that next page and we see Captain America's thought bubble saying, "Can't tell if this is John in his man-wolf form since I never actually saw him that way." Which is true, he never did. It was Spider-Man that saw him that way. Anyway, Cap says, "Can you understand me, or is this your mind totally feral, trying to communicate?" But, that feral creature jumps at Captain America, and Captain America bashes its head to the ground. "Druid, how are you holding out?" And you hear roar, and another one leaps at Captain America. But Captain America, skillful as he is, raises his shield. That thing just smashes its face right into Cap's shield. You gotta love that. And he said, "Rate me good, trying to staunch the blood flow." And Cap's thinking, hard to tell here in the dark, but this werewolf almost looks too feminine. Looks too slim, to be John. And then all of a sudden you hear roar, and this lasso comes down and grabs that wolf by the neck. Now, I've been skipping the advertisements in this issue, but I did want to share and talk about this one. I wondered if any of you have played any of these games or beat these games. It says Big George, Bad Bart, and the Amazing Spider-Man Go Game Gear. Now, I didn't have the Game Gear, but I always wanted to play that KO George Foreman boxing. Did anybody here play it? If you did, let me know in the comments section. Also, I did play the Bart vs. Space Mutants. I played that on the NES, and that game is hard as heck. That's one I never won, actually. Maybe one day I'll go back to it. And the Spider-Man one, I didn't play that on Game Gear. I have it on the Genesis, and I did beat it. It's a great Spider-Man game, and I would highly recommend it if you are a retro gamer. Now we're going to the next page. You hear, "Bad doggy," and you see that lasso. Who was the culprit of catching that? And of course, it's the guys training these things. He says, "You given the full moon a bad name." Yeah, a cheap pun there. And Captain America looks up and says, "Who in the world?" And that's it. It says continued in 2 weeks. And that's where this issue ends. So as I said, well, actually, the issue doesn't end. I'll go on to that in just a minute. Just the Captain America part here. As I said, the art was all right. Nothing super spectacular. The story so far has been somewhat interesting. Wolverine's going to be involved at some point. Captain America is looking into where is J. Jonah Jameson's son? Where is Diamondback? Right? And now this new bad guy. So it should be interesting on what's coming up next. Now, the next part of it switches into what's going on with Diamondback. And I'm not going to get into too much detail, but Diamondback was captured, and she's being held in a pit. And she's being tortured pretty much, nonetheless, by none other than Crossbones. So it's going to give another interesting side story here. I actually really liked this side story. And it was also written by Grunwald, but the penciler was different. It was Alexander did the pencils. So, and I don't think the artwork was as strong on this part of the story. All right, Frugal fans, so that's this issue of Captain America from Flashback from the Stash. Notice that Captain America seems powerful here. He's pretty smart. He's held in high regard compared to his peers as well as the general public. I want you to think about that when looking at any current issues of Captain America. Now, granted, that's part of the new storyline shifting is that distrust. But even think about it in the last 10 years. Does Captain America represent like that, like he did back then? And just think, this was not that terribly long ago. This issue was just in 2002. So look at that difference there. Also, this was before they changed his and modernized his uniform, which I guess he might be coming back to the classic one. All right. So let me know. Do you want me to do more and finish telling the story of this 6-part series, or maybe wrap it up or do just one when he actually turns into a wolf? Let me know, because there's also an issue where he has a battle with Wolverine too. So if you enjoyed this, please be sure to let me know. Heck, if you enjoyed this, please be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit that notifications bell. Also, if you truly want to help to support me, the best way to support me, Little Frugal, and this channel right now is to go to VidMe, if you're not already on it right now, and subscribe on VidMe for as little as $1 a month, or even just give me a tip. I would greatly appreciate it. That allows me to update equipment and things like that I need. So right now, for example, I'm saving up trying to get Dragon software because I'd like to do more articles and things, and I'm having a hard time with typing because of an injury I had. And so I'd like to be able to get Dragon software. I think it would help me a lot. Also, if you do enjoy these two, check out this video as well as other articles and other things at thehenchmanslounge.com. And until next time, keep it frugal.